prison where 23 hours of confinement are crowded with flies and cockroaches. The dark cells of Belize Central Prison are a prison where the cells are constantly searched to find drugs, weapons, and contraband. Prisoners stay in their cells for 23 hours a day, and many cells are packed with up to 13 people at night. In today's video, we will see this life with our own eyes. We will try to understand how difficult the reality is by entering the cells. When a search begins in this prison, the entire cell is searched. Are there drugs or anything prohibited? Someone's past life, personal mistakes or beliefs are of no importance here. Each prisoner spends his time only under strict rules and terrible crowds. Prisoners are confined to small, dark cells for about 23 hours a day. The space in many cells is so small that 13 people are forced to spend time standing on the floor, under the bed, or standing next to the wall. Inside the cell, broken iron beds, furniture made of thin foam pieces, and bathing in small buckets placed in the corner of the floor are all their daily experiences. The kitchen is dirty, flies buzz on the food, and eating the food prepared there is impossible for many. Time passes slowly here. In a few days, it feels like many weeks have passed. This prison is not reserved for adults alone. Behind its cold walls live teenagers as young as 14, confined alongside hardened offenders. Boys between 14 and 17 are subjected to military-style discipline designed to crush weakness and enforce obedience. Though their small frames and youthful faces make them look like children, many carry the weight of unspeakable violence. Among them is one boy whose story chills even seasoned investigators. At just 17, he stands accused of executing a man with 5 bullets and then gouging out his eyes, an act of brutality that defies comprehension. He claims he has been locked inside this prison since the age of 15. A former member of a local blood gang, his childhood unraveled when his father left the country, forcing him to grow up on the streets. Drawn in by the promise of protection and belonging, he joined the gang, only to discover its unbreakable rule: to earn territory, you must kill. The tattoos carved into his body are not decoration, they are a ledger of lives taken. To him, murder is not an emotional act but a rule. A reflex. There is no remorse, no fear. He states it plainly: once you enter the gang, there is no exit. Trying to leave means death. From these merciless codes, monsters are forged long before adulthood even begins. Just steps away from this nightmare lies the women's ward, housing around 40 female inmates, creating a stark and unsettling contrast. After the harrowing tale of a teenage killer, this section feels deceptively calm, almost ordinary. But it is only a mask. Many of these women have violent histories so severe that their quiet demeanor feels disturbingly out of place. Some are first-time prisoners, still unaware of the harsh reality they are about to face. Under rigid control and emotional isolation, they slowly adapt to a life ruled by fear, mistrust, and uncertainty. Bonds form quietly among them. Emotional support becomes survival. Some even enter forbidden relationships, secretly communicating despite strict bans. But the consequences are severe. If caught breaking the rules, punishment is swift and brutal. Offenders are thrown into solitary confinement for weeks at a time. These isolation cells are filthy and suffocating, infested with flies, cockroaches, and crawling insects. There is no bed, only a thin sheet on the concrete floor. The light is dim, and when night falls, darkness consumes everything. In this prison, hope is fragile, humanity is tested, and survival comes at a terrible cost. The fear never truly fades, especially when insects crawl across faces in the darkness, stealing sleep night after night. Many inmates admit that just the thought of it is enough to keep their eyes open until exhaustion takes over. Spending even a few weeks in this isolation is enough to mentally break a person. Even prisoners serving short sentences can be thrown into solitary confinement for extended periods simply for breaking prison rules. As time passes inside these walls, it becomes painfully clear. This is no ordinary prison. It is a place engineered to apply relentless psychological pressure, where every single day becomes a battle for both mental and physical survival. The harshest face of this brutality reveals itself in the maximum security wing, a completely separate world within the prison. This is where the country's most dangerous inmates are held, under extreme control. The environment here is filthy and suffocating, the cells dark and airless, surrounded by men convicted of extreme violence. Life in this section is harsher, colder, and far more unpredictable. From time to time, allegations surface that inmates are hiding sharp weapons or banned items. When that happens, guards launch sudden surprise searches. Cells are torn apart, belongings scattered across the floor. Prisoners claim that once the searches end, their cells are never restored, leaving behind chaos and tension that only escalates hostility. During these raids, guards often discover small metal fragments, stolen razor blades from the kitchen, or traces of drugs objectism use, either for self-defense or to momentarily escape crushing psychological stress. Sometimes, contraband enters the prison through drones. Other times, it arrives with the help of inmates assigned to outside labor. In Belize, where only one prison exists, even correctional officers convicted of crimes are imprisoned here. As a result, they find themselves standing beside the very dangerous inmates they once supervised, dramatically increasing the risk of retaliation. The kitchen itself paints a grim picture. Scenes of slaughtered chickens, blood-stained surfaces, and unsanitary conditions expose just how poor the quality of food truly is. Violence, fear, and cruelty seem etched into every wall, leaving no corner untouched. This same prison also houses death row inmates. Capital punishment remains legal here, even though no execution has been carried out since 1885. Still, death sentences continue to be issued, and those on death row live each day under the crushing weight of uncertainty, wondering if today might be the day their name is called. Currently, 4 inmates await execution. Their cells are positioned close to the gallows, intensifying their psychological torment. From time to time, the sound of vehicle movement or unusual preparations near the execution area sends waves of panic through them. They assume the worst, that their moment has arrived. Most death row inmates live completely cut off from their families, spending endless hours lost in thoughts of the outside world. Many openly admit to their crimes and say they are simply accepting their fate. Yet one controversial case continues to haunt this block. 3 men were convicted for the same murder. 2 of them have already died. Rumors persist that the weapon used, a gun, was secretly smuggled into the prison by an officer through illegal means and used to carry out the killing. To this day, the weapon has never been recovered, and that unanswered mystery continues to haunt the prison. For inmates housed near the gallows, the psychological toll is unbearable. Living so close to the place of execution crushes the mind long before the body. Some believe this extreme environment is necessary to force criminals to understand the true cost of their actions. Prison life is harsh on its own, but death row is far more terrifying. And beyond even that lies the supermax section, the most unforgiving place in the entire facility, where security is absolute, and both physical and mental pressure reach their peak. On the morning of the 3rd day, another disturbing sight unfolds in the prison's farm section. Death row inmates are seen working with knives, performing routine tasks as if execution were not hanging over their heads. Allowing condemned prisoners to handle sharp weapons raises serious questions about safety. Inside the Belize Central Prison Workshop, an even more unsettling reality exists. Every single day, more than 200 chickens are slaughtered by inmates. Sharp blades, blood-soaked floors, and minimal supervision turn this area into one of the most dangerous corners of the prison. Some inmates carry out the killings without hesitation, saying it has become part of their daily routine. To them, it feels normal. But for newly arrived prisoners, the experience is deeply traumatic. These chickens are prepared for prison meals, yet the strangest part is that despite the deadly tools in inmates' hands, guards are often nowhere in sight. Throughout the prison, religious music and sermons play continuously, a practice made mandatory since the KB Foundation took control. Nearly 6 years ago, this private Christian organization assumed full responsibility for managing the prison. Their mission, they claim, is to transform every inmate through faith. An 80-month Christian rehabilitation program is offered, providing benefits such as better living conditions. Still, skepticism remains. Many believe inmates enroll not out of belief, but for an easier life and the hope of early release. One such inmate, Matthew, admits he has lived a violent life, marked by repeated crimes. He says he cannot erase his bloody past, but believes religious rehabilitation is slowly changing him from within. "I cannot do it alone," he says. "Without God, I cannot change." Many inmates are burdened by overwhelming guilt. Some are convicted of murder, others of brutal violence or sexual assault. Some say they now seek forgiveness and want to walk a new path. Inside the workshops, prisoners are seen freely using sharp tools to carve wood, shape metal, and even craft jewelry. Unbelievably, Belize's largest jewelry production now takes place inside this prison. Former addicts and lifelong criminals now claim they are spreading messages of faith to warn others away from the path they once followed. Their belief is simple: no matter how broken a person is, everyone deserves a chance to change. But the prison's past tells a far darker story. When it was under state control, it was nothing short of a lawless battlefield, a true Wild West. Stabbings, murders, and gang violence were daily occurrences. Overcrowding, unfinished buildings, and damp concrete floors were the inmates' reality. Just 12 to 15 years ago, at least one person was injured here every single day. Some prisoners slept on rooftops just to stay alive. After the private foundation took over in 2002, control slowly returned. One of the prison's oldest inmates, Chester, recalls those horrifying days with pain etched into his voice. He speaks of hands being chopped off, throats slit, and bodies collapsing in front of him. He remembers seeing a severed arm lying on the lower floor, a sight so disturbing that even in extreme hunger, he could not touch food afterward. "I was a bad man," Chester admits. "This is where I belong." But my soul cries. I destroyed my own life. Crime, regret, punishment, and the struggle for redemption are woven deep into the walls of this prison. And deeper still lies the supermax, the most severe section of all. What awaits inside is almost impossible to imagine. Within these walls exist fear, violence, remorse, and fragile attempts at change, all colliding in the same place. Some inmates are desperate to escape their past. Others remain trapped in darkness. The question remains, does punishment truly change people? Or is it compassion and opportunity that lead to transformation? What do you think?